20 years ago, a seed was planted and cared for. We painstakingly nurtured it and weathered it against adversity until one day it blossomed and the fruits of our labor began to show. Today, millions have learned, shared, and been inspired by what our community has produced. We proudly served 21 million users from 204 countries in 2019. For our 85,000 technical articles, code samples, and videos, our 450,000 forum questions, and our highly anticipated conferences and events featuring keynote panels, live streams, and industry experts and influencers. We recognize and reward members for their dedication to the community. Through content contributions and mentorships, we ranked number 2,620 in the world with a reach of millions across our social media channels. Thanks to you, our global community of software and data developers grows stronger each day. For more information, visit us at csharpcorner.com.
Good morning and welcome to another episode of Growth Mindset Show. My name is Mahesh Chand. I'm founder of C Sharp Corner and host of this Growth Mindset Show. This is every Friday. We do this show every Friday. It's a nice, bright, sunny day in here outside of Philadelphia. And today we are going to talk about software projects and why software projects fail. So who is this for? If you are anybody who is involved in software development, if you're a programmer, developer, designer, tester, project manager, architect, even a stakeholder or decision maker, and you want to know why most projects fail, especially, and we are talking about the software projects here. So that's what we're going to talk about today. If you are joining us first time, welcome to the show. If you are joining us back, welcome back to the show. MD's here. Welcome to the show, MD. Yeah, and again, this show is actually, it's all about you and you only. So if you have any questions related to this topic or other topics, just feel free to ask your questions. You want to chime in? You have any comments? You have any feedback, suggestions? Just jump in and chime in. Ledger, welcome to the show. Good to see you. Good to see you back here this Friday. We're going to have about 30 to 40 minutes today, unless there are more questions. My goal is I will try to answer as many as questions possible. Everything, if you have a project you're working on, or you're planning to work on a project, your company's project, or does it matter? You have any feedback, why they delayed, why it failed, feel free to share. And we will share your comments here in the show. And again, Simon is good at sharing anything you post there, so that'll be good. All right, so let's get started. I'm going to share my screen here. Let's see if I can share my slide. Oh, I need to upload my slide, so give me a second. Okay, that is gonna take a second. Okay, let me do this. Growth mindset. Let's see. Okay, I need to first close my slide. That's not a bad idea. There you go. All right, so we will definitely talk different things, different topics. Feel free to share your, ask questions, share your comments, feedback. I'm uploading the PowerPoint now. In the meantime, I'm sure everybody's familiar what is going on in Ukraine. It's a pretty sad situation there. A lot of us even don't know how to help. So hopefully, I don't know, only what we can do is hopefully things can go better, get better from here. I'm not sure what we can do really, besides just talking about it and, sharing with more people. All right, so let's focus on why. This is my top 10 reasons why software projects fail. And this is from my personal experience. So a little background. I have been building software products and projects, for different companies for last 25 years or so. And when I get involved, most of the time I'm involved in planning the project, or working with the teams or setting up the teams and how have the delivery ready for. So, hire project managers, hire architects, developers, testers, and so on and so forth. So during my experience, I have seen so many projects fail. And it's just not me. It's just the fact is that a big number of projects fail and their number can be actually 80%. So out of every 10, only two projects probably see a day where they go live. And 80% of projects fail. And there are different reasons for that. Ravinder, welcome to the show. Good to have you here again, guys. Any kind of questions you have, feel free to ask your questions. So let's move to the. So what I will do is I will share these top 10 tips, but then we will talk about it. And you want to chime in, you have any feedback, comments, feel free to chime in. You may have personal experience why your projects fail and what you do to make it successful, right? That's you feel free to chime in. So let's think about these software projects, right? So when you work in a company or you have your own project, or sometimes you work in a team, or sometimes you can work yourself as a contractor. There's different ways we work, right? But most of the time when we are building these software projects or products, doesn't matter how you call it. Again, it's a software project when you think of it as a coder, but when you're launching and using it as a product, right? So there is usually you are building either for startups or you are building for small to mid-sized companies, or you are building for large corporations. In my experience comes from all of these three types of companies. I work with the startups, I work with the small to mid-sized companies, I work for large corporations. And these, depending on the size of the company and size of the team, there can be different reasons projects fail. And that's really we are going to talk about in this today. So Deepak, welcome to the show. Looks like we have good audience going on, guys. If you have any questions, don't forget to ask your questions. All right. So think of this: when you are a startup usually have few people. Okay, it's not a big, depending on what the stage of the startup is. Sometimes just start with one or two people, then three people, four people join, and let's say you have a team of four, five people. One guy is probably founder, technical and non-technical doesn't matter. Then there's this one senior guy who's lead developer or architect or project manager slash, and then there are developers. So that's kind of startup. Small to mid-sized teams are a little bit bigger. They are a little bit well structured. They have tools, project management. And when it comes to large corporations, that's just a big. It's a big. Think of that. It's not just as easy as. So there's usually different teams within the company or even different departments, they handle different parts of the project. So let's take an example. Let's say you are building a website. You are building a website for a startup. It's very easy because few people work on it. They talk almost every day. They know where to launch and all that simple. Small to mid-sized companies is also not so hard. But when you are working with large corporations, there is a it's separate QA team, there's separate dev team, separate DevOps department, there's usually separate database guys, and then there is separate guys who are managing your servers and infrastructure. So that's how it works. So you are in a large corporation, you are dealing with multiple teams, and they are on, sometimes they even on different department. They don't really meet every day. They meet as often as project needs, right? So let's take an example of large company I work with. We are not going to share names, but in that company, if you have to deploy your project in QA or prod, in dev, first you have to get approval. You have to propose that this is the project, this is the needs. We need three different servers. We need, dev, staging and prod. And then you have to give them configurations like this dev machine should have this configuration, staging should have this configuration, and deployment products should have this configuration. So then this IT team will create the hardware for you, right? They create all the servers. Now, then you have to ask probably different team or same team to give access to different people on those servers. So, for example, or every developer should have access to the dev server, right? And or machine, whatever you're using. Um, and then QA team is testing team is going to have access to QA, and then prod server is accessed by only few people. And you there sometimes these companies are now using cloud, right? So you can some are using say GitHub, and they are using CI/CD on GitHub. So and they are deploying direct from GitHub. So you depending on the company to company. And the point I'm making here is that sometimes there's several teams involved. Another part is in big companies, there's probably a different team that manages databases. So you have to ask them, okay, what kind of database server you need, what kind of configuration you need. They will create and they will give you access. So, and then again, it comes to the security. If you are working remote, if you're working remotely from home or your dev team, then you have to go to this IT team again for security. So, point I'm making is larger the corporation, complex the IT. Think of the IT processing is, and there's so many rules there you have to follow through that, right? So that's the point I'm making is, and I will try to mix all three based on my experience. I have actually experience with startups, I have experience with small to mid-size, and I have experience with large corporations. So depending on your experience, feel free to ask your questions. Rizwan, welcome to the show. Johnny, welcome to the show. And then Satya, welcome to the show. So Johnny already said that I came on board in a company where they have been working on a Windows app, replacing DOS app for 7 years, year seven, and there is a year later they dumped the project. Like, yes, correct. So I see all the time projects being dumped for whatever reason, and there are different reasons. Businesses have different reasons, and business again when you are a business decision maker or owner or project sponsor, you have different reasons, and that changes from time to time. For example, I see all the time when new CIO or CTO or somebody joins a company, they have a need for a different project, and they person leave, then project is all shut down. This happens all the time because that's how it is, right? It's reality. So as I said, 70 to 80% projects fail, and there are certain things we can do as a creator, as a project creators and architects and developers and project manager, we can do certain things to avoid that failure, and that's really we are talking today. Yeah, so again, if you have any kind of experience with your why your project failed, why you shut down, feel free to share, chime in, and I have my top 10 reasons and how you can avoid that. At some point, if you are a decision maker, you are an architect, you are a project manager, you are a lead developer, what can you do so your project, at least it's not your fault, the project failed? All right, so let's look at the top 10 reasons, and I will talk about this one item at a time. There's no specific order; they are just different my points, which I see all the time why projects fail. So the first thing is not having clear understanding of business needs. This is very important. Okay, less structure the company is, less structure probably the project is. And what happens is sometimes business will come to say IT or CIO or CTO or whoever the dev team is. They'll say, "Oh, we need a new app, or we need a new website, or we need new, I don't know, BI service or analytics or reporting or whatever." They come up with this need. Business usually comes up with the need, or business may say, "Oh, we need to build this new website for our customers." So, for example, you work for a company that's in finance and they have customers, obviously. So your finance, say your accounting department may come to you, say, "We need to build reporting for our end customers so they can see blah blah." So right now the trend is that back in the day there used to be a process for writing detailed software requirement specifications, SRS, right? That's how we started. When I started writing software 20 some years ago, we will first create a document called SRS, and that will have detailed requirement, and we will interview different people who are the end customers, try to understand. And that's where exactly but now we are using agile, and we don't really write detailed requirement. We don't spend weeks and months to spend, on requirement. And in today's world, it doesn't need to be. You don't need to spend so much time on this requirements right now because we are in agile. So what's the advantage of agile and disadvantage is that agile advantage is that you take a smaller piece, you have deliverables and goals, and you break them down into, weeks and 2 weeks and months, right? That's how you do it. So business comes to you, and ask for certain applications. One thing you really want to make sure is that you have the requirement very clear. Sometimes developers just start writing code. And when you say you, also means the entire team, not just architect or not the project manager, not the lead developer. Even the developer should know exactly what are they building. If you have any questions on a screen, or if you have any questions on a page, you don't understand clearly, ask. Ask it 3 times. Uh, People you're asking, they may not like it, but in the long run they will like it, because end goal is to have a successful project. So every time you're not sure about, let's say you're creating, let's say you are a UI developer. Let's take an example. You are a UI developer and you're building a screen. It's a data grid and it loads, 500 records. If you don't know that, if you want to put a paging there or auto scroll on the grid, just ask and make sure you are implementing the right approach. You're taking the right approach, because I often see it. Then developers build a screen and they put a paging in there, and I like, why did you page? Why didn't you scroll? So it's not really their fault. It's both. It's the team. It's entire team's fault. Is really that the requirements were not clear. So it's important as a developer you ask, and it's also important as a project manager you clarify those things. So that's why a lot of projects fail, because in the beginning, requirements are not clear, business needs are not clear, and the things keep changing, and then project keep delaying and delaying and delaying. All right, that's number 1 point. Do you guys agree with that? If you guys agree, disagree, please comment, post your comments, because I want to know if you're really getting the point, or if you agreeing, you disagreeing. If you do, I want to know that. Feel free to post a quick comment that yes, this I agree, or anything you did that you didn't understand and your client came and say, oh, this is wrong, you had to redo that again. That's again, it took, now it's going to take longer time because requirements were not clear. Yep. So not, yeah, I agree that Johnny says QA needs to be involved. Yes. And I have this another point here, not only QA. Yeah, we can take that point. So one of the point here is that you have to have your end users and QA involved from very beginning. And QA may come later, but the end user has to be involved early. See, that's my second point, not involving end customers in early stage of development. This is very important, and we don't do that. Most of the developers don't do that. They get the requirement and they start building screens and start writing code, because that's how we know, that's how we taught. But the better way to build software is the successful project is when you first time look at the requirement, you understand the requirement. Now you have a designer who's creating UI UX. It has to be done quickly also. Then as soon as UI UX is ready, use one of the online tools where you can create UI and then link them and then show it to your end users right away. It doesn't have to be working. It doesn't have to be functional. You show them, hey, this is the home page going to look like. This is the menu is going to look like. When you click on menu, say register, it's going to open a register screen. And on register screen, it's going to have these many controls. When you say forgot password, it's going to you do that. If you log in, this is the home page is going to look like. So show them. So, and I'm not saying all of the end customers, right? So we call them early adapter, beta testers, right? So, so what you do is you get a team of few people involved from day one. So whenever I talk to any new customer or client and they say we want this new application, I say, okay, who is going to use this application? They say, oh, these are the within our company, these are the people who use it, these are the customers. So I say, can I have 2 to 4 hours each week from these So that's how I start. Anything I design, that's how we start project is we get those 2 to 4 people involved when we are designing the screens. When we are designing the screen, we show them right away. Like, what do you think? You understand this? Anything confusion? So now what you're doing is you are getting them involved early. And when you so they should already also be giving you some feedback. Say they may not like something, they like something, they have different ideas. So get them involved at early stage. And when you have something ready for them to test, like say, let's say now you are start putting things on QA, you start building screen code and it's done. Now you are putting everything weekly updates on QA. Let them test drive your weekly updates and give you the feedback. And then you look at the next release, you fix those feedbacks and show them again. So that should be the process. That's kind of repetitive agile process that you build little things, show it to them, get their feedback, fix that again, add more functionality, launch next feature, and show them again. So now when you when you're going to launch them, you now they know what to expect and they are giving you feedback as a real user. That's very important. All right. So yeah, I agree that Johnny says prototypes are a great way to show. Exactly. So prototyping is that's the fastest way to do because it doesn't take a lot of time and you get their feedbacks right away before you actually start writing code because we know that code writing takes too much time. Um, so yeah, keep going that. Let's go to the next screen now. Our next point is selecting wrong team and technology. This is again very important. I see this more in startups world than the large corporations. I've seen that in startup, what happens if a startup is building they have an idea, founder or founders come with an idea and they want to quickly build something, which is great. That's fine, but I have seen that when they pick the wrong technology. For example, one guy built an app. They built an app in JavaScript and they didn't use mobile technology. They didn't use responsive app. But an app was successful. They awesome. They launch it. Thousands of people start joining it. Then applications start crashing. And that project failed big time because all customers were frustrated. They didn't like it. It wasn't scalable. It wasn't user friendly, so that could again be bad thing if you select the wrong team and wrong technology. This happens often. And I've also, for example, you don't right now, if you are building a new website on .NET Stack, you probably don't want to pick ASP.NET, even though your team is experienced with ASP.NET, because Microsoft already just said they're not going to support ASP.NET anymore. There's no next versions. Now everything is either ASP.NET Core and Blazor and so on and so forth, right? So you don't want to pick a tech stack that is obsolete or going nowhere or it can support your future needs. For example, if your website needs to be responsive and work on iPhone, iPad, Android, and the desktop, and also in browser everywhere, you want to make sure you pick a tech stack that will support all that. So you gotta make that decision. A lot of projects fail because the team or the technology they selected wasn't scalable and wasn't right fit for the product they were planning to launch and customers. Another thing you need to keep in mind is your end customers. You need to know who they are and what they do and how they do. So if your end customers are young generation, and you have to know that 80% of them use their mobile phones, you probably don't want to build a website for them, right? If you do the build a website, make sure on the mobile phones and devices it works like that. So that's also very important. But if your end customers are elderly, for example, you are building a website for government and their users will be all elderly who are, retired people and 65 plus and older, you probably want to more focus on building a website with bigger fonts and make sure that you take look at the text, the accessibility, make sure the font size and colors and the color blindness, all those things has to be taken care of. So that's very important. So if I have to go back again, when you're building a software and you want to build a successful software and you want to launch it to your end customers, make sure you understand who your end customer is. That's the very important part. And a lot of time developers miss that part because they are either not directly interacting with the end customers, or they just don't even understand who end customers are. They're just building because their lead or somebody told them, okay, go create the screen, this is the database, get the data. So that's very important part. Let's go to the point number four, not delivering on time. So this happens all the time. So when business comes and say business has this budget, this time, and app has to be, this project has to be launched. If it's not launched and if it's delayed, that is one of the major reasons. Also, a lot of projects shut down. Um, Understanding cost of development, so underestimating cost of development, and again, this comes with the experience. That the number 5 point is a lot of projects fail because sometimes the teams, when they propose, they will say, "Oh, we can finish this in 6 months and this many people," but they're unable to finish that. So either business has to add more cost to it, or hire senior resources, or contractors, or consultants. So, and eventually, business will say, this is too much money we are spending here. Let's shut it down. This happens all the time. Or sometimes what happens in the startup world is they run out of money because they underestimated the cost of development. This happens all the time. How do you resolve that? Well, first thing you resolve that is that being transparent and being upfront. So if you think that something is going to take longer than anticipated, or you need some expert rather than putting the younger guys who don't know how to do things, so you have to then find the let the business owners or decision makers or stakeholders, or who are our financiers, they have, let them know that, hey, we thought this will take us 3 months to do it or 2 months to do it, but because of our skill sets, I don't think we can do it, so we need to have somebody else who's experienced so we can move faster. Transparency and upfront, you are better, everybody's ready for that. And I don't like sometimes developers, excuse me, they try to hide and is still, yeah, it will be done next week, and it's not done. That's actually bad for everybody. um, I understand why we do it. I understand why we don't want to be take the bullet, we don't want to say why it's delayed. But in long run, it's okay to accept that, if that we are not going to meet the deadline, and give them the reason. And then most businesses usually understand, as long as you're upfront about it. Moving targets. That's my point number six, moving targets. And this is not on dev teams, this is not on developers at all. This is more on a business side. This also happens often in startups and small businesses. Small businesses do this a lot because they don't take care of the first two parts. If you don't take care of first two parts, one and two, which is don't understand business needs, and also you don't involve your customers, what happens is they keep changing requirements. And it's on both sides. In both sides is that businesses should not change requirements, and the dev teams, whoever the decision makers are, they need to make sure that they have a sign off on the requirements from the business. And what does that mean? Is that means when you write something on a document, or in even a, doesn't matter what tool you use, make sure that they somebody sign off on that, say this is the work we are going to do in next 3 months or 6 months. And it has to be clearly defined. You need to have a signature on them, because if you don't have the, a lot of time, if it's verbal or it's not vaguely written, then what happens is so many things are hidden in in one requirements, right? For example, I'll give an example, right? You can have you say, I want an app that will let users send messages back and forth. That's one requirement. Okay, so I can just start building an app and people can send messages. Now you give it that app to the users or business, like, oh, I also meant the text message, not just the direct online message. The now out of sudden the requirement changed. Now so you have to send text message. Now one after that they say, oh, I also want email to be sent. So point I'm making is that this is again goes back to the requirement. Business requirements are not clear and detailed enough. So when they are detailed enough, make sure the business sign off on that. So now when you deliver something and they say, oh, I don't see this screen, or I don't see this functionality, say, okay, look at the requirement. This is the one you signed off, and this is what we deliver. That's how it has to be. It's very important. And these are really goals of project managers and architects. Sometimes if lead is direct leading the team, if it's smaller project, there's no architect, there's no project manager. It's the role of that person, that requirements are not only requirements are clear, but also business signs off on that, whoever the decision maker is. So then it's not coming to you, because you will go back to say, hey, these are the things you signed off, and this is how I'm delivering, and this is time I took, this is teaming, this is the cost, this was the cost, and that's where I am. So it's basically you are then it's not on you. Otherwise, always it comes to developers that, oh, they didn't deliver it, right? Um, Poor planning and poor project management, that's kind of combination of everything above I talk about. So it's very important to have a good project manager, especially if a project is large. Sometimes I have worked on projects where there are 5 different teams involved, and there's like 25, 30 people involved. So it's very important to have that one project manager. Not only he understand the people, the projects, some technology and business sides, but also be good on in motivating the team, right? Getting everybody on the same page, and also taking bullets when things are not done right. This is very key role here for a successful project. Yeah, so Johnny also, so Rizwan, and let's take comments. Yeah, so I see. I agree with 100%. Johnny says that. Yeah, what do you mean? Yep, exactly. It happens all the time. Moving targets. So this is, and this always comes to developers, because in business, when business, say, especially smaller company or individual or startup, they tell you something. They have million things in their mind, but your goal as a developer or the architect is that get every little things out of their mind and put on a paper, so they can see it clearly. And this comes with the experience too, but this is your goal, that hey, I am only doing what's on this paper, so let's make sure that nothing is missed here. All right, so let's take a few more here. Rizwan, good. Keep those comments coming. This is good. This discussion that I agree. So Rizwan says, fully agree with transparency plays major role. Yes, if you are transparent upfront, what the advantage is that there are no surprises. The one thing businesses don't like is surprises. They like, and nobody likes surprises, not even me and you. Like if I'm expecting something and it's not delivered on time, and then later I know that later, I get disappointed. But if you tell things up front, it doesn't mean you means if QA or testers or end customers or project managers, somebody notices that something is not right, something is not on track, let the team know. That's how it should be. And in short term, somebody may be upset. Somebody may say, "Oh, you said it'll be done in 1 week. It's not done." But if you tell the reason upfront, doesn't matter. It can be a personal reason. So say, I got a COVID for 3 days. Like I can't deliver this because I'm sick right now. Can't work. It's fine. You don't need to hide it. You don't need to hide at all. This will make everybody's life easier. And I see young developers, especially, they try to hide things, and that's not good for anybody. Um, so yeah, and then yep, this is good, right? So it's, I agree with you. Moving targets, and there's another one is agile, right? We face difficulties to implement agile method for client-based projects because budget is fixed before. Yes, this is a very good question. That sometimes clients wants to do agile and also say it's a fixed cost. This is not how things work, right? And agile, they keep changing, and it's hard to do a fixed budget project when your requirements are not clear upfront. And this is again, as a decision maker and a project owner or whoever the making who is the dealing direct with the clients has to make this sure that if you are agile and keep changing the requirements, we cannot guarantee you deliver this on this time. That's how it is. Upfront you are, better you are. And everybody, not just you, everybody in your team and even client side. In the beginning, again, as I said, for short term, he may not like it or she may not like it, but in long term, they will be happy. Either doesn't matter who that is. All right, this is good, going good, guys. Keep those comments coming. Looks like so we kind of agreeing a lot of things here. Um, Last three things are missing accountability. This is very important. This is mostly in large corporations when you don't see direct. It's not a smaller team. Teams are big, and I deal with a lot of corporations. So what happens is people do. Okay, you told me to add this person, give this person right. I gave it. That's it. I'm done. So whenever the team is like that, that everybody's like, hey, I did my job. This is not how good products are delivered, because they are destined to fail if everybody's just thinking, look, I did my job, bye bye. This is a teamwork. The building a good software product and delivering on time is a teamwork. It's not a one person's job. It's not two-person job. It's everybody's responsibility, and everybody should be held accountable for that. They need to take their own, responsibility. Sometimes what happens is that, as a developer, I'm working on a screen, I may miss something. It doesn't mean that other people notice it. They can also give feedback and even support. Somebody may be sick, get sick at some time. They can say, "Yeah, don't worry, I'll do that." So this is a teamwork, and when in team, one person is being selfish, saying, "Yeah, I did my job. That's all," and that's not how you win. This is how it works. So make sure that if you are the project manager or architect, you gotta give this message to your team, is that this is a teamwork. Success or failure doesn't matter. It's not one person. Again, think of this. The way I explain is that if one part of your body is not working right, your whole body will fail, right? Sometimes we get little thing in our one finger and we have fever, so whole body suffers. This is exactly project is when one team member is not on the same page, not performing, you cannot win. um, and last 2 points are bad user experience and team are not believing in projects. So bad user experience is, this is how a lot of software fails, because either the application was very useful, it was very productive, but the users doesn't understand or take them long term to get used to it, or they just give up. So these days people don't have patience. They don't have a lot of time to learn. They're like, if they get it or they don't get it. So when you are building this any new project product, make sure you understand. Again, go back to understanding your users and what they want and what they are used to, and what else new you can give them so they don't fire back. It's very important. I'm not saying you just keep building old and old screens because that's what they like. You also have to innovate. But when you innovate in such a way they don't feel like lost, right? So this is how you have to think. And I know, and we can go back to Steve Jobs' philosophy that don't worry about users. If you push them, and that's how Steve Jobs built iPhone. He didn't care, but he also failed many times, and not many people fail many times and eventually become successful. You won't have chance because your business is not going to keep trying that for 10 years. Your business is only going to give you one chance, if it's successful or not. If it's not, I'm going to shut down the project. That's how it works. So user experience is very, very important, especially in today's world, when people don't have patience. Uh, and the last thing is team is not believing in this project. Again, as I said, building a good software product and launching it successfully is a teamwork. So it's a role of the project manager or architect or whoever the leading the project, is to make sure the team believes in it. The team believes in it, and team believes in what tech stack you're using, and they like and keep motivating. All those things matter. Is they all matter for successful projects. Yeah, and Rizwan says, yeah, creating environment and platform for developers is important. Agree, 100% agree, right? So again, we can, as a company is usually can give you certain things as a team, but then team has to create environment itself, right? They all people have to create the environment. They have to come up with the idea. If there's certain things are not implemented in company, they have to speak up and say, this is how we should do better. This is what I see. A lot of things that a lot of young developers, they're not happy, and they feel like there's more thing, but they don't speak up. So the thing has to be done from both ways. Yes, companies has to provide good environment. Yes, agree 100%. and then also the people has to also speak up what they want, because sometimes everybody just so busy and thinking like everything is going well, but actually it's not. So um, again, everything is a teamwork, and if I have to pick a couple of key words from this, my experience is, one is that business requirements are clear and have your end users, customers, and testers and QA involved. Or QA, you can't really get involved early unless there's something for them to do. But customers, you can get involved as early as your prototyping, right? Because at least they can see and give you feedback. And other big point is teamwork. Everything is a teamwork and being transparent. Because if you're transparent and your team is on the same page, there are no surprises. And nobody likes surprise. Nobody likes to know that tomorrow we are going live and today we don't even know if things are working, right? Nobody likes that. But if you tell me, if I'm a business owner, you tell me 3 months ahead of the time that, hey, we may delay for 2 weeks, then I'm prepared. I'm ready for that. And yeah, and again, it's back to this. It's a teamwork. Team has to believe in it. And if you have these things ready, I think your chances of being a project successful are pretty great. Any you guys agree? I think we all agree here. If you don't agree, let me know. But with that said, I think we are on time. It's 40 minutes. I hope you learned something from this today. This is my experience for several years, working with different teams, different companies, different projects. With that said, I thank you everybody for hanging out, Rizwan, Johnny, and everybody else. This was fun because you keep posting comments. That makes my part fun because I feel like somebody there listening. So keep that coming. And before we close, thank you everybody for not only joining, but also my producer Simon behind the scene and the guys who doing social media and marketing. Everybody, they are doing the work. Good job. Thank you so much for this hanging out this Friday with me, and I will see you next Friday. Thank you.